don't underestimate your flesh, okay? Don't underestimate your flesh. Regardless of how you may feel at that time, regardless of how strong you think you are or what you've been through, you are not as strong as you think you are. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If this is your very first time, if this is not your first time, welcome back, of course. So y'all know I like to give a little preview of my setting, my background. So we're back here where we were in the last video, okay? This is what's gonna be convenient for now until I invest in a new tripod, okay? But for now, I think this is working. I literally just got out the shower. I put on some earrings and a bucket hat because I was very determined to make this video before the day was over with. So this is what we're working with today, okay? So I kind of want to, this video is a part of the series that I mentioned in the last video about my celibacy journey. And I don't want to just go straight into it because if this is your first time on my channel, then you're probably going to be like, girl, what are you talking about? But if it's not, it may make sense to you if you've watched the previous video, which I definitely recommend that you do, so that it makes sense, you know. Where do I start? Okay, so in the previous video, I talked about my celibacy journey and it's been 11 months. And in the video, I promised that the next video or the future videos will be me discussing how do you deal with giving into that temptation and really addressing or giving you all preventative measures to help with that, and also give you tips when you do give into the temptation. So I'm going to briefly share my story. I won't go too much into detail, but just enough so you guys can possibly relate and learn from it. So I'll also be talking about the importance of boundaries. I wasn't going to like combine it and put it in this video, but it only makes sense. So I'll briefly talk about it. I'll start with giving into temptation and my story and basically how it relates to this series. So I'm talking about my celibacy journey. And for starters, for those of you that don't know, I got out of a relationship the beginning of last year beginning of April. And in doing so, I decided to rededicate my life to Christ and make lifestyle changes and really change the way I was living, change the way I was dating, all of that good stuff, right? So in doing that, I decided that I would wait until I was married to have sex again. And I was like sure of it. I was very sure of it. So, okay, April that happened. So 5 months, got out of a relationship, had no communication whatsoever with my ex. Okay, no communication whatsoever. So August comes along and I take a trip for my birthday, and the place I go is where this person lives. Mind you, I was done. I was really done. When the relationship ended, it wasn't like toxic. It wasn't any trying to get back together. Like we both had mutually agreed that it just wasn't, you know, what was up at the time. So that wasn't, you know, I wasn't really, I had zero plans of reaching out to this person. And a lot of y'all probably watching this and like, girl, I can relate. So he was following me on social media. I had unfollowed him on all social media. So yeah, so I knew that he would see me because he was still watching my stuff, even though we weren't speaking. He would see me out there, right? So I'm not going to lie, that right there, part of me still wanted it to possibly, like, it's weird because I didn't want to be with this person anymore, but part of me still wanted him to see what I was doing, you know, still have a slight tiny bit of access to me. So I know y'all can relate, you know, guys, girls, whoever watching. So that was the situation. But okay, so April to August, no no sex. I'm like on this journey of finding myself, growing closer to God. Like, I am serious. I am in it. I have this letter that I wrote to my future husband literally on the plane to where I was going. I would never forget. So anywho, August comes, I go to this place, and I don't want to, okay, so I won't share too much because it's not even relevant, but don't underestimate your flesh, okay? Don't underestimate your flesh. Regardless of how you may feel at that time, regardless of how strong you think you are or what you've been through, you are not as strong as you think you are. Okay, you're not as strong as you think you are. You're actually more vulnerable than you think you really are. And that was the situation that I was in. So, although 5 months have gone by, for some people this is a long time. For some people it's not a long time. But for me, I thought that I was good. I had made it this long without talking to this person, communicating with this person, having sex with this person, seeing this person. In my mind, I was like, I'm good. Like, although I'm going to this state, not to see this person, but this person lives here, is a possibility that they're going to hit me up or we may run into each other. I'm good. So I wasn't good, okay? So the first thing is when you, so going back to the point of being real with yourself, right? So just so you all have an idea, it's only fair that I share. I know I said I won't go into detail, but it only makes sense. So, this person hit me up on my birthday. Happy birthday to you. I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. And I was shocked. Mind you, I hadn't spoken to this person in 5 months. I was like, oh, thank you. We engaged in a conversation. And then that led to us connecting or planning to reconnect or planning to see each other. So this is where boundaries come in place, okay? First, I can look at this situation from a lot of different points, beginning with him still having access to me via social media. So I didn't go to the all the way to the points of blocking him, because it wasn't like that. Like, he wasn't texting me or calling me. It was just the social media. So I easily could have blocked him or unfollowed him. And I'm very huge on doing what you got to do to get over whatever or whoever you need to get over. Some people don't have to do that. Some people can just, they go their separate ways. You don't have to worry about them like watching you from social media or calling you from fake numbers or anything like that, because it's just not that kind of situation. But you got to do what you got to do. So initially, he could have had zero access to me. But me thinking, I'm good, we're in 2 different states. He still watched me on social media. Cool, But for those of you that do live in the same state as your ex, it's more tempting for that person to want to contact you or see you and things like that. So you have to create boundaries. And I'm not regretting anything that happened. Literally, this situation helped me to see things like, and I'm not saying you have to go through things. You have to be disobedient in order for something to be taught to you, because there's other ways that God can teach us and through other different experiences. But anywho, we decided to go and meet up, okay? Go and have dinner. So again, in my mind, I'm like, y'all, I'm like Superwoman. I'm like, I'm good. Like, this is just us reconnecting. It's nothing more. I don't want him to come to where I'm at. I don't want to go where he at. Like, we literally just catching up. So I'm telling myself this. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's still very fresh. The breakup is still very fresh. So it's like, Kimberly, seriously, girl, like, why are you even doing this? So long story short, we ended up, he ended up coming to where I was at, ended up having sex, right? And I remember prior to us actually having sex, we were on a couch talking for a while. We were just talking. And I'm going to come back to this because it's another point I'm going to make. Well, I'll just say it now. Ladies, guys, The enemy and our flesh, listen, they be working together. It was to the point where I literally, so 5 months have gone by. Don't forget, I've made this promise. I've promised to God, promised to myself. In a few moments, a few seconds, due to lust, due to my flesh, due to just, I guess just, I don't know, just me wanting to, this passion that I had, it all went away. And I literally prepared for the moment. And it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go back to it because I'm gonna just go back to the story. Okay, so we ended up having sex, and prior to that, we were on the couch talking, right? So we were talking, and I was just sharing with him, basically about my journey and like catching him up on the last 5 months of my life and things like that. And and he was talking to me and stuff like that. And I remember at one point in the story, he started crying. I think we shed a few tears. Yeah, I think we shed a few tears. So I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, we just talking. Nothing's going to happen. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. I remember telling myself that. I was like, I'm going to be good. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. So after opening up to him and trusting that he would accept, he would accept and respect what I just told him about me choosing to save myself until I'm married, until I meet my husband, and saying all these things. And like it went through one ear and out the other. Like it literally went through one ear out the other. And after it happened, I felt terrible. And the first thought was, wow, like he really, like it was me putting all the blame on him. Because I'm like, I'm telling you this, I'm telling you, like in your mind, you should think, wow, she's very vulnerable right now. I'm very vulnerable right now. Maybe this is not the right decision. So I literally was thinking this in my mind, like, this is what he should have done. He should have been like, no, I respect your boundaries, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And I'm like, wait, reality check, how can I be mad at him for boundaries I never really set in place to begin with? He should have never been where I was at. He should have never been invited inside. We went to dinner. It should have ended at the car, or maybe him walking me up, or at least, I don't know, waiting in the lobby or something. But that's because I didn't have boundaries set in place, and I didn't respect my own boundaries, and I didn't make clear what those boundaries were. So I don't know what he was thinking. I can't say what he was thinking, but when you have history or chemistry with someone and you try to rekindle those things, and if you didn't have boundaries set in place before, and you try to rekindle things with an ex or whoever, it can be more difficult because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, let's just keep things going how they were. For some people, I won't say for all, but for some people. So that was the first thought. And after all of this happened, I felt disgusting. I felt like I let God down. I felt so shame. I had so much shame. And I thought the worst of myself. Like, mind you, this is my ex-boyfriend. Like, this wasn't our first time having sex. But for this particular reason, for this particular time, I've never felt like this before. I've never felt like this. Like, I felt so disgusting, and I just didn't want to be bothered. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to God. I didn't want to do any of that. And I remember the next morning, it was because we were still working from home, right? So I was still out of town. And I had to work. And my classes were about to be starting in a few days. No, they had already started, actually. So I was like, I had a huge faculty meeting. And I just was like not there. Mentally, I wasn't there because it was so much heaviness I was carrying around. So I gave into my temptation. I gave into it, and it was an eye-opening moment. I remember coming back, I think, that Monday, and then I left that Tuesday or something like that. I came home, like my flight was like the next day or maybe that evening. But I remember when I got back home, I was writing because I have a prayer box, and I was writing in my prayer box, and I was just writing. Like, I felt like God just like pulling me towards him, like, just talk to me, like, I forgive you, like, give this to me. This is not a time where you turn away from me. This is a time you turn to me. And yeah, I felt so disgusting. And if this is you, if you have, made this promise or this commitment to live a certain life, maybe that's abstaining from sex, or maybe that's abstaining from drinking or drugs or whatever it may be, and you give into that temptation when it does arise or when that opportunity comes, don't I'm not going to say don't go I'm not going to say don't beat yourself. Well, don't beat yourself up, but allow yourself to go through those emotions. Don't just void it out. Go through those emotions, but this is when, as much as an instinct it is for you to turn away from God, this is when you need him the most. So you need to turn towards him and surrender it to him. Recognize where you messed up. And that may not come instantly. That may come a few, however long, few days, a few weeks, however long it takes you. But it's important that you turn away from it and you recognize where you went wrong, where things could have been done differently. And this can help you going forward. And it's not the end of the world. Like, I don't know how to explain this feeling, y'all. I literally I felt so let down. And it took a little while for me to like get back to a place where I was like, okay, like, God forgives me, like, he still loves me, he still cares for me, he's, I'm still his child. Like, it took a little while for me to get there, but I remember a few months after this, so I don't just leave you all with like a cliffhanger, I decided to cut things off completely. Not a few months, maybe like a few weeks. It wasn't even a few months. It was instantly, I realized, like, I had a revelation. This is not your husband. There's no need for you to still be connected to this man. There's no reason for you to still talk to this man. You need to end things completely. So in having that revelation and that, that thought come to me, I ended things. And it was shocking to him because he thought, oh, let me, I have her back in my life. Maybe, we can just see. No. It was clear to me. It was very clear to me. This is not my husband. And that's what I wanted. That's what I desire. I desire to be married. I'm not in that headspace that I was when we were in a relationship where I was just kind of going with the flow. No, there's intention behind me dating. There's purpose behind us dating, or me dating whoever. So this goes to show, like, when you do mess up, you have to be real with yourself and you have to invite God in to help you, because you can't do it yourself. You can't try to fix things on your own. You're going to either fall back into your old habits, or you're going to just get overwhelmed and it's going to be too much for you to deal with. And a lot of the things we go through, we're not supposed to go through, and we try to get through it on our own and we end up back where we started. So, it was a very challenging time, but I got through it by the grace of God, honestly. And I was so intentional about it. And this is like, if you don't take anything else from this video, I was so intentional about not making that mistake again and keeping that promise. Like, it's some attractive people out there. It's been almost a whole year. Don't think I haven't been tempted. Don't think that I haven't wanted to. It's literally a natural human desire, or tendency, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Instinct. I don't know the word. But it's natural. It's natural for you to want it. And as I said in my previous video, it becomes an issue when it's the only, like, this all you think about 24/7. That's an issue. But, I always say with my friends, I love love. So, yeah, but don't beat up on yourself. Go through the emotions, talk to God, spend time with God. This is a time where you really need to be surrounded by an uplifting, positive community of people. Because when you're going through things like this, it's quick for the enemy. The enemy knows you're vulnerable. The enemy knows you're very low. So this is like, he's preying on you. He's throwing different things out there. He's allowing you to have these thoughts like, oh my gosh. Once the enemy get a grip on your mind, it's over with. Like, I really had to take hold of the thoughts that I was thinking and surrender them to God. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Like, this is not true. God is not done with me. Like, you have to, because if not, you're going to literally drive yourself into a certain idea or way of things, and it can really be very, like, very unhealthy and toxic. So I just wanted to really come on here and share with you all and talk about temptation and what do you do when temptation arises, and share my story. I think that people relate to situations when they can hear from someone who's been through that, who's gotten through it. So I'm here to share that I've been tempted, I've given into my temptation, and I'm here to tell you, you can turn away from it. It's not the end of the world. God still loves you. He wants you to know that, like, he knew that was going to happen. It wasn't a surprise to God. It was a surprise to me and him, but it wasn't a surprise to God. So he's already taken the measures to help you to turn away from that and overcome it. So, yeah, I plan on talking about boundaries in the next video, which I'm excited about, because I'm going to have like a list of things and ways you can enforce these boundaries and create these boundaries so that you can have a healthy relationship. Thank you all for tuning in to this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. My social media handles are in the description box. If you ever want to DM me or talk to me about anything, of course, you can DM me and message me. I will get back to you when I can. So thank you all, and I will see you next time in another video.